Hi everyone, it's Michelle. Welcome back. So it's Thursday, so it's time for another weight loss update. I am really going to try to stick to doing these videos for you guys weekly. It seems like there's a lot of interest in them. And they also, by having to do these, it does help to keep me motivated and on track, which I think will become very important as I get into my maintenance mode. So let's do a quick start with the numbers. I know everybody's very curious about that. So last week when I talked to you guys, I had a total weight loss of 87.2 pounds. And as of this morning, my total weight loss was 88.6 pounds, so an additional 1.4 pounds of weight loss this week, which is a really good week of weight loss for me. I didn't change anything this week or really do anything different. I just stuck to my eating plan and, made sure I got my workouts in every day, 6 days a week. That's how often I work out. So those are the numbers for this week. I'm very excited. We're getting very close to the end of my weight loss journey, and then it'll be about maintenance. But we've still got to get there first, so a little bit more to go. I want to lose a total of 95 pounds, so, not too far to go. So today, last week I said I would talk about some of the foods that I eat for breakfast and lunch. So I am going to insert a couple clips here about what I eat, showing you a little bit more about what I eat for breakfast and lunch. Okay, so let's talk about what I eat for breakfast. Now, I will say that I am a creature of habit, so I tend to eat the same thing for breakfast every day. If that is not something you can live with, then find a few different things that you like to eat. But this breakfast for me works really, really well, and I enjoy it. I actually look forward to my breakfast every day because I find this very, very delicious. So let's talk about what I eat. So I eat Greek yogurt and blueberries almost every day for breakfast. Now, for my Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt I should say, for my Greek yogurt I prefer the Faye brand, which it's just one you can find in your local grocery store. I typically eat either the 2% version or the full fat. I do not care for the 0% version of this. I find it's just too tangy. So I eat a 7-ounce container of it. You can buy it in the bigger tubs. When it's not on sale, I will buy the bigger tubs, and then I'll have 3/4 of a cup of it, which is slightly less than you get in this container. Now, this container of Greek yogurt is 150 calories, which is, pretty low. There's no added sugar or anything. When you look at your yogurt, you want to make sure that the only ingredients in the yogurt are milk or cream. Some of them are made with a combination of milk and cream, like this one is, and active yogurt cultures. There should be no preservatives, no fillers, nothing, no carrageenan. Make sure there's no carrageenan in it. So read your label. Why do I choose Greek yogurt? Greek yogurt is packed full of protein. So this container of Greek yogurt has 20 grams of protein in it, which is a lot of protein for one serving. So that will help keep you fueled all morning. It'll help keep you full. So again, it's 150 calories. There is only 4 grams of fat in here. And again, I do not subscribe to a, completely fat-free lifestyle. I think the body needs some fats. I think it keeps the skin nicer. I think it helps keep you more satisfied, that kind of thing. So this is the Greek yogurt I choose. And a lot of people have asked, oh my gosh, how do you eat Greek yogurt every day? It's just too tangy. I don't like it. I add blueberries to it, or some sort of berry, usually blueberry for me because I love the combination. I take a cup of blueberries, and I almost always use frozen blueberries because they will be the freshest. They're packed at their peak. They make sure when you buy your frozen berries that it's only the blueberries. There's no added sugars or anything. But so here's a cup. I'll have a cup of blueberries, and this is defrosted now. So I take my blueberries out of the freezer. I take a cup of them out the night before and put them in the refrigerator so they defrost. So here's what you get, which is a cup of blueberries with a bunch of syrup, because when you use frozen, this is why I like to use frozen, it creates sort of this really delicious syrup, and all it is the juice from the berries. When you use fresh blueberries, you don't get the same effect. So when you add these, see how much juice it makes? When you add these to the yogurt, I mean, it looks like, let's get all of them out of there. It looks like, you know, you have this great, delicious, you know, almost like a sundae. It's very thick and rich. The blueberries are very sweet. If you don't like this much juice, I actually really like it because it really flavors the yogurt. But this is like a fresh, you know, it's like eating fresh blueberry yogurt. It's delicious. So the blueberries add 70 calories. There's only 70 calories in a cup of blueberries. They're packed full of antioxidants. Blueberries are considered one of the superfoods. They have quite a bit of fiber in them, you know, and they're really, really good for you, and they're absolutely delicious. Now, sometimes I will eat it this way. Sometimes I will add some more calories, and today's one of those days. I will either add some granola to the top of this or some nuts. Today I'm going to use nuts. My favorite nuts are, you know, like almond slices, or sometimes I will use walnut chunks as well. Make sure they're, you know, raw and they're a good brand and that kind of thing. And with nuts, you have to be careful because they have a lot of calories in them. They're good for us, but they have a lot of calories in them. So you have to be careful. A lot of fats and calories. For example, these almonds are, for 1 ounce, it's 160 calories. So we don't want to, you know, pour a bunch on there. I just add them for crunch and a little extra calories. So I will tend to just sprinkle them on the top like this. This is kind of, that's about all I would eat, just a teeny bit more than that, sprinkled on the top. And when you mix them in, they add a little crunch to the yogurt as well, and they add a little extra protein and a little extra fat, so, you know, that will help keep you fuller longer and more satisfied as well. If you're going to use granola, and I love to use granola, I'm out of my granola right now, so that's my favorite thing to add to the top is granola. But make sure you're using a good granola that's not full of preservatives, it's not full of sugar. Most granolas have a lot of sugar in them, which is okay, but then you just have to control the amount that you eat. So when I add granola, I add a quarter of a cup of granola to the top. I measure the granola because granola is very calorie dense. But there's a couple of different organic granolas I buy that are tend to be a little bit lower in sugar, but adding the nuts or the granola will add about 100 calories to it. So I've got about 320 calories here in my breakfast. This will keep me full all morning. So this is typically what I eat every day. Now you could mix up the berries. You could choose other berries, whatever's in season, or like I said, I like the frozen because it creates some juice like this, which makes it to me just much more delicious. It's very sweet and that kind of thing. So I will typically eat blueberries, but occasionally I will switch up the fruit that I use. And this is what I eat for breakfast every day, and I really look forward to it. So that's why I tend to stick to the same thing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about lunch and what I eat. I will start by saying I, again, like breakfast, tend to eat very similar things for lunch. And I've talked about this before on Instagram and maybe even in some of my videos. I really enjoy eating quinoa for lunch. This is the brand I buy. It's organic, it's pre-rinsed, which makes it nice. So for those of you who aren't familiar with quinoa, when you cook it, you have to rinse it before you cook it. Otherwise, it's very, very bitter. This one is pre-rinsed and very nice. The other thing I will tell you is this is a 4-pound bag. See how big the bag is? And if you buy quinoa in the grocery store, or at least at my grocery stores, you get a small box or a small bag for $4 or $5, which is a lot. This is a 4-pound bag they sell at Costco. In my area, I don't know if it's everywhere. It's by CNF Foods. And I think it's $12 for 4 pounds, $10 or $12. So very inexpensive to purchase it this way. And I tend to eat quinoa for lunch very, very often. it's sort of how I prepare it that varies a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, quinoa you cook just like rice. So 2 cups of water to 1 cup of quinoa. Bring it to a boil, let it simmer for 15 minutes, let it sit for 5, and you're done. Quinoa is a whole protein, so it's a whole plant-based protein, which is really sometimes hard to find, and it's gluten-free, and quinoa is a whole grain, and it tends to be very low on the glycemic index, so it's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's got quite a bit of protein in it, which will keep you full throughout the afternoon, and I think it's delicious. It has a little bit of a nutty, grainy taste to it. If you cook it with other things, which sometimes I do, it will pick up that flavor as well. And it's sort of like rice. It's like a little round piece of rice, but it's not rice. It's, you know, it's quinoa. I think it's a seed, actually. Let's see. Nature's Wild Grains. I'm trying to make sure this stays in frame. So this has, if you eat a whole cup of it cooked, it's about 220 calories. So not too bad for a full cup. It would have about 5 grams of fiber in it, and the protein would be about 9 grams of protein. So good protein source, pretty good fiber source, very easy to cook and delicious. Okay, so I just cooked my quinoa, and this is what cooked quinoa looks like. It's just, let me try and bring it close so you can kind of see. It's just sort of like a little round grain, and it's very, very tasty. So I just made a pot of it, and like I said, I will eat a cup of this. I'm going to make my lunch now, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to eat. So I prepare enough quinoa to be able to do 3 or 4 days worth of lunch. I find if you make more than that, the quinoa gets a little bit mushy after the 3rd day. So I try to stick with just, this is 3 cups of quinoa right here. And that seems to work well for me. So I'm not sure if there's some other way to make it stay better, but I make 3 days at a time, 3 or 4 days at a time, and it seems to be just fine. So today I'm going to take a cup of this, and I'm going to, let me grab a cup. I measure it sometimes, not always. I mean, you know, a cup is quite a bit, and I am going to, let me get rid of the pan. It's hard to film with this. People who do this are crazy. Okay, so this is some grape tomatoes, organic grape tomatoes, and some asparagus that I roasted last night, and I just heated that up, and I'm going to mix it with my quinoa, cup of quinoa plus those vegetables. You can have as many vegetables as you want, really, because you'll see as I start mixing this up, this looks like a lot of food. It's a good sized bowl of food. You can put whatever vegetables in here you want. This is just what I had from last night. In the wintertime, I tend to like my vegetables warm, just because I like a warm lunch, but you can eat the quinoa cold from the refrigerator as well. So in the summertime, I will like put cucumber and tomato and green pepper and a little onion in here and make like a salad with the quinoa. You could actually even have a salad, like a lettuce salad as well, and put the quinoa in it when it's cold. It's delicious, and it, like I said, it adds a lot of protein to your meal. So this is the meal that I would eat, and then how I would dress this up a little bit. Always pepper. I love pepper. Today I am going to add a little bit of feta cheese. Now, feta cheese tends to have a little less calories than some other cheeses, but it's still cheese, which has a lot of fat in it. So you want to be careful with the amount of cheese that you're going to use. I try to think about it like this. I try to use my cheese as a seasoning and not as part of, not considering it part of the meal, because you don't want to eat too much cheese. So I take, you know, like a teaspoon, and I sprinkle it over that, and then I go back and get, you know, maybe a little half a teaspoon and add that. And that's enough feta. I will also, Parmesan is one of the other ones. I fresh grate some Parmesan, but again, just a couple teaspoons to add a little bit of flavor and richness to the dish. This now, when I stir it in, the feta is going to add like a richness and a creaminess to this dish. So this is typically what I would eat for lunch. Again, I mix up the vegetables. Sometimes whatever I have on hand, whatever I'm enjoying, which I tend to try and stick to seasonal things, but as you can see, not always. I'm eating tomatoes right now. I eat tomatoes always. I think they're delicious. They're full of lycopene, which is really good for us. And, you know, they're not, I like to roast them because this time of year, they're not in season. And so they're not that flavorful unless you roast them down. So I'm going to go ahead and eat this. And like I said, I would just mix this up with many different types of vegetables depending on what I have on hand. Sometimes I'll put broccoli in there and cauliflower, zucchini, butternut squash. I like to roast up butternut squash. I just dice it and roast it up with a little chili powder on it. Sometimes I sprinkle a little, I chop up a little garlic on it, and so it's very savory in flavor and doesn't lean as sweet, and that's delicious in this as well. So that's typically what I eat for lunch. I do tend to stick to some sort of salad or quinoa based lunch. I'm not a big sandwich person, and this really has been my staple lunch and has worked for me throughout this entire journey, and I enjoy it. I don't dread it. I don't think, oh, I have to eat that again, because I'm always changing it up. Switch up the cheese, switch up the vegetable, that kind of thing. And I think it's delicious, and I feel really good throughout the day.
Okay, so hopefully you guys found that helpful. And I have said before that the things that I eat during the day are not all that interesting. Some of the things that I think are really important for you to consider when you are eating, with your eating, is finding foods that you really love. It's really important that you feel like you can eat this way for the rest of your life. You can't think of what you're doing as a diet, and that isn't how I approach this. And that's why I allowed myself to have so much time to lose the weight if I needed it, because I didn't want to feel pressured to eat a bunch of things or eat in a way that I couldn't maintain for the rest of my life. So I do think it's important, while I showed you kind of what I eat for breakfast and lunch, it is important to find foods that you love and that you know that make you feel very, very satisfied and not like you're on a diet. I think that is critical to sticking with it. The other thing I will say for people who haven't maybe seen my previous videos is my approach to eating. While I did talk about calories quite a bit in those clips, I am not a slave to the calorie. I do try to make sure that I'm only eating about 1,500 calories a day, but you know, 1,500 calories a day is a good amount of food if you're eating the right things. And I believe it's more important to eat healthy food than to think about calories. And if you're just starting this journey, it might be easier for you to just think about eating healthy food first and not about, I gotta weigh this and measure this and all of that. So I did want to hit on that. And you know, when I first started this back in, you know, October of 2012, I started slowly. And it's okay to do that. Like, do not overwhelm yourself by just cutting out all the foods that you're eating right now and switching your plan. If you think that that works for you, that's fine. But I went slowly at it. I cut out, you know, soda first, all soda. I don't like diet soda anyway, but I cut out all soda first and started making sure I got enough water in every day. That was the first thing that I did. And then I said, okay, now I want to get enough vegetables, fruits and vegetables in every day. So I increased my servings of fruits and vegetables. And then I started cutting out more and more things as I went along. And it's okay to take it that way. Sometimes when you shock yourself and cut out all the foods you're used to eating and the foods that, you know, are sort of your comfort foods and the things you turn to, when you just don't allow yourself to have any of that right off the bat, it can be very hard on you, and you can feel frustrated, and you know, you kind of feel like you're on that diet. But I entered into it slowly, and I started feeling really, really good, and I started losing weight, and then that motivated me to, you know, go a little bit further and that kind of thing. So I think that's important. When you're eating, find foods you love. I also think it's critical to get processed foods out of your diet. if it comes in a box or a bag or something like that, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Now, my quinoa comes in a bag, yes, but the only thing in that bag is quinoa, you know, and my yogurt comes in a container and is processed. Technically, I could make my own yogurt, but I don't. But I make sure there's nothing else in there but, you know, the milk and the, you know, active cultures. It's really important to get all that junk out of your food, because when you put whole natural foods in your body knows what to do with it. It knows how to break them down and process them, and it just functions much more efficiently, which will help you lose weight in the long run. I believe that had I eaten a 1,500 calorie a day diet of whatever I wanted, as long as it was only 1,500 calories a day, versus the 1,500 calories I eat of non-processed, whole, healthy foods, my journey would be very different. I wouldn't feel as good as I do. I wouldn't look as good as I do. And I do not believe that I would have lost the same amount of weight. I believe that having all these clean foods in my body has allowed my body to burn calories much more efficiently, and has given me energy enough to keep up on my 6-day-a-week workout routine, and it gives me so much energy during the day that I just do more during the day outside of my workouts, which has helped me continue to lose weight at a very, very steady pace. So I do believe that that is the way. Getting all of the junk out of your food is the way. And sometimes that's the best way to start, is just getting the junk out. Don't worry about portion control or anything like that. Just get all the sugar and all the processed foods out of your diet. And then start making sure you're not overeating. But it's really hard to overeat on vegetables. I will say that. If you are on a diet and you are not losing weight, I can almost guarantee it's not because you are eating too many vegetables. It's not. Fruits are a little bit different. They can be higher in calories. However, I do not limit myself on the amount of fruits that I eat. I just don't. I believe that fruits are beautiful things that come from nature that are full of amazing things for our body. So if I want fruit, I eat it. You know, whole grains are another thing. They can be very calorie dense, so you want to try to be careful, but you know, they're full, most of them are full of fiber, and if you eat the right ones, they're low on the glycemic index, they're not going to hurt you. And then eat really lean meats. I will say on the meats, try to eat local, grass-fed meats that aren't full of hormones. I believe when you start introducing those hormones into your body, again, your body will struggle to process things and to operate efficiently, and then you may see your weight loss slow down with that as well. So that's a little bit more on how I eat. I also wanted to say, listen to your body. So when you are eating, it's really important to listen to your body. And when your body's full, it's done. So listen to that. We are so used to having massive portions and shoveling it in as fast as we can because we're busy that we overeat. And if you take the time to eat slowly. I try not to be doing other things when I'm eating. Just eat slowly, enjoy the food, enjoy the taste of the food, enjoy the experience of eating, and stop halfway through your meal and ask yourself how you're feeling. Do you need the whole other half of that meal, or are you full now, or do you just need a little more? And if you're sort of really limiting your portions, listen to your body. Is your body still hungry? If it's really still hungry, give it a little more. I think it's really important to learn to listen to your body, and that is a skill that takes time to develop. So it won't happen overnight, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And the more you're going to, when you eat something that you shouldn't, you're going to stop and listen to your body, and you're going to go, oh, I should stop eating this because I feel terrible already. So that's another thing that's really important. The other thing I wanted to say is when I have my meals, I typically only drink water with a meal. I try to avoid any carbonated beverages. I don't really drink carbonated beverages anyway, but when I have a meal, I like to just have water. I think it's the best thing to drink with a meal. It doesn't sort of challenge your digestive system further. So I did want to mention that as well. So that's it for this week. It was another really good week for me. I hope you enjoyed seeing the foods. I hope everybody found that helpful. I will do this again next week. I thought I would let you guys ask me some questions in the comments below, and I will do a little weight loss update and Q&A next week for everyone. So that's it for today. I hope everybody's having a great day, and remember to, if you are on this journey, hang in there. All those little losses add up. All of those healthy things that you're doing for your body are going to add up to wonderful, wonderful things. And the other thing I wanted to say is don't give up on you. Don't be too hard on yourself, but don't give up on you. And I will see you guys next week.